talking, but then letting you listen to them. My muscles get tight. They're doing this again today. Today, they're so upset. So, like, you know, when something's gonna happen. Before they were telling each other when there was gonna be like bust, and I want to know who's telling them there's gonna be a bust. So part of this is how are they getting this information that we can't get? So what they're doing is using me in order to cover for all these other things. At one time, before there was going to be a bust, they said something and I didn't repeat it. So this was supposed to be their way of training me. They use that phrase, training me to not speak, to be very cautious. And somebody's explaining to them why an American like I am, we talk freely. And they said, well, West Indians, we tend to talk even more freely than Southern Black people. So again, this seems to be a group of people who study personality assessments, psychological warfare. That's what it is, like warfare, operations, things that I wouldn't know. So the other part about this is that, when they're trying to surveil me and they said they want to do something that will get me beaten up in the street fighting. They said they don't want me to bulk up. That's their phrase. They don't want me to bulk up because if I bulk up, I can defend myself. But they said also, since I'm taller than many of them, I'm intimidating. They also said that they were going to use bigger Southern Black people to intimidate me. They said because they're going to look at my videos and be jealous. What is there to be jealous of? That's part of this. Part of this is I'm telling you all this stuff. They're going to keep trying to threaten me. In the privacy of my own home, they put this surveillance technology in and wanted me to call people and get them all involved in all of this so that they can walk away like they're the innocent victims. Oh, she said this, she did that, not knowing that they would be recorded also. So they did this, they did that. They don't want you to know that. Part of this is once I told someone that I'm going to do this video, they made sure to shut off all the other sounds and noises. So they're like, oh, maybe I wasn't masturbating. They said their technology really can't tell. Part of it is a mind game to manipulate me. So what I'm saying is now they're going to police masturbation. The masturbation police are looking in on people's apartments to find out what we're doing inside. But no, I'm the bad person. I'm the one who's telling you folks that this is possible. So then the next part about that is I found the AI mode that talks about the character, Shamika character, written by my professor in the Northbury papers. And that AI is talking about things that I've heard them discuss in their conversations. That because I'm confident, it's like they try to explain it, but since I need to use AI to understand it, like if I see a confident young person, I'm happy because that's somebody who's able to think for themselves, who won't be taken advantage of. So they said, well, I'm always being taken advantage of. Well, here's the issue. If I'm always being taken advantage of and they're taking advantage of me, why wouldn't I tell? Why wouldn't I report it? Why would I stay quiet about it? It doesn't make sense. The more you take advantage of someone, the more likely that person is to say, hey, I'm being taken advantage of. Somebody's exploiting me. Somebody's using me. And when it's people who you don't expect to use you, it's even worse. So it's like if I'm being taken advantage of by someone who I wouldn't expect it to, that would be the person I would talk about. I wouldn't keep it quiet. But for them, they said they thought I would keep it quiet, which goes to show AI is saying what they're saying. And that's part of what I'm trying to prove, that they create AI. So in the AI, the Shamika character is seen as a threat. Tibby is like he's rich and he's part of this family legacy that attends this exclusively predominantly white school, but it's like a rich school. And so the Shamiga character is only middle class. So middle class, again, in the book, middle class isn't seen as a significant thing to be. It's like, you're nothing. So the AI says that Shamiga is challenging Tibby, and instead of her backing down and staying quiet, she's continuing to talk, but she doesn't do it, she doesn't confront him in a fighting way. It's more like she uses her intelligence, she uses her ability to communicate, to address his hostility, because he doesn't think she belongs. So that goes back to what they are telling me about me. I don't belong here. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm seen as below them. I'm not good enough. So when I'm reading it in AI, it's making sense, because that's what they're trying to explain to me, that I should have just shut up. I shouldn't have said anything. Why do I even, why do I look ugly in my videos? Look how ugly I am. They said if I go against the elementary schoolmate, she's going to look beautiful and I'm going to look ugly. And she's going to look like she's being taken advantage of. But they already admitted, and I already know, they were calling people. They were calling people. So it's not in my head. It's not like they keep trying to make me, that even in the book, they talk about Shamiga being gaslighted. That I'm supposed to think that this is all in my head. There's no book. AI found it. AI found information about it. It's in Google Reads. It's on Amazon. It's in my hands because I got a physical book. So all of this gaslighting is to say to me, you are ugly. You're black. You're disgusting. We don't want to hear from you. They called me a cockroach. They called me a nigger. Then they try to say that years ago, I was having a conversation with someone, and I said nigger is also another word for they said miserly just now, miserly or cheap. That actually is the definition of it. So it's not just the N-word nigger, but also that was used. So they think that means something. It doesn't mean anything. Like all of these things that they come up with, they think means something because they believe in like all of these like connections and stuff. It's a form of mental illness. And that's why I'm telling them they are mentally ill. I'm not going to ever back down from saying that. They're mentally ill because they're connecting all these weird things instead of the facts. That the facts are written in that book in a way that I would never think of. I would never think that a student of mine should be depicted in a book in that way, let alone use her name. They said they thought I was going to change my name to Shamika, which would make it easier for them to use Shamiga. That's crazy. That's nuts. The other part of this is that they're looking at what I'm doing as I'm doing it and trying to think of what I'm thinking as I'm doing it. But they're really telling me what they're thinking. Their thoughts are nothing like mine. Like I said, if I were a teacher and a black student in my class, they're yelling something, I don't know what. I would feel like, especially since it was predominantly white, I would feel like she should be allowed to speak, allowed to freely voice her opinions, and that the other students in class don't resent her. That's what I would think as a teacher. Because as a teacher, if my other students resented my black student, and I could have been maybe one of a few black students, maybe I could have been the only one in class. There were classes where I was the only black person, not just female, black person when I was at Fordham. Because again, this was years ago. I entered Fordham in 91 and I graduated in 95. So this was so many years ago. It was predominantly white. So if I'm a teacher and I have a black student and I feel that there's any resentment for her, I would address it to the class because I wouldn't want her to feel that way. But to see it written and to read it and know that the people doing this to me think the same way, that I should feel like I'm not worthy of speaking up. I'm not worthy of having an opinion. I'm not worthy of being in my body with my thoughts, with my opinions, and talking about them. It's strange. It just feels so weird. But to see it written, and that's partly why I'm doing a lot of the thumbnails on my videos with this AI, what AI is talking about in terms of the Shamika character in the Northbury Papers, which was written by my professor at Fordham. So what I'm saying is, like, it just feels weird to me. It feels weird that people who are doing this to me actually wrote a book about it and expect me to stay quiet. The other thing that seems strange is that when they said they seem like they're sneaky and they used a word, they are sneaky. And I don't see why they don't think that hiding this book isn't sneaky. It's sneaky. I mean, it's like it feels like if you do something that you're proud of, you should be forward with it. If you do something that you put your name on, you should be forward with it. If you have to hide it, you're being sneaky. That's what sneaky is. So the other thing is, they said to punish me pretty much. You know, they come up with many punishments. They said this is a form of punishment anyway. So to punish me, they're going to put my conversations in my apartment that I pay for out loud in public as a punishment. So that would be me being unsneaky, because even though I can't control it and I don't want them to do it, they're doing it. So the other point about that is they keep going over this. There was a video I did in 2022 where I'm like, they were eavesdropping and they said I said herpes hands. And that was actually something they talked about for years. Like, this out loud started in 2019. So we got 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. That's 4 years they talked about this out loud. I'm in the street and they're talking about it, saying that same phrase. They didn't think I would remember that night they were talking and I caught them. And so then all of a sudden it's like, you did this, you did that. They did it. I'm just telling what they did. And they said they thought I would defend myself. I don't have to defend myself for telling my victim experience. If you're a victim, you have the right to tell your experience. Only people who wouldn't want you to tell your experiences are abusers. You have a right to speak up as a victim. They're liars, they're thieves, they're sneaky, and they're criminals. They should never tell a victim not to speak up. But that's what I'm saying. This is what's going on. Where I'm a victim of this abuse. And I'm being re-victimized every day, 24/7. And these are the people who are in our colleges and universities. This should have stopped. So the point is, they're saying that the reason they had to do this is they wanted to keep track of what I'm doing because I represent them. Really? Really? This is how students are treated? I do not represent anyone but myself. I represent me. And if being a victim of a horrible crime like this that caused me to be this sick, to be hospitalized, they wanted to hospitalize me in February of 2023, but I didn't want to be. By April, I was too sick. I couldn't walk, talk. Recently, I've been massaging myself so much. I'm exhausted and I'm still not better. So what's going on here? They said, well, we didn't want to tell you what's really wrong with you because we don't want you to put it on the internet. I have rights. I have rights. I have the right to freedom of speech. They just said First Amendment. I have right to freedom of speech. But that's what I'm saying. This is like some weird criminal group that can suppress my rights, can violate my civil liberties, can be in books, can put people to live above me, banging, waking me up, telling me to get my fucking ass up. Yes, you guys said that. And you weren't ashamed to say it until I broadcast it, just like you started broadcasting me. You're hypocrites, you're sneaks, you're crooks, you're thieves. They said, we're going to show the world what jewelry you have so I can be robbed. They said about the safe deposit boxes before they started robbing them. So this is a criminal organization that steals from people, and they don't care. They don't feel anything about it. You can work your life. They, they said, Shamika, you shouldn't have said all this stuff. Is that's your answer? That I'm supposed to be intimidated, that I can't say all this stuff? All this stuff? They said, what if it's not just your teacher? What if what's not just my teacher? They said, what if this is a trick they played on me? I have the book, it's published, and it was signed off to someone else. So if this is a big trick where they have a published book that I've shown you repeatedly that was autographed to someone else, like, when the writer writes it to someone and that person's name is in the book, and it's in Google Reads, and it's in Google, and I gave it to a lawyer. I showed a lawyer. You think the lawyer I show would let me sit around thinking there's a book and there isn't? They said, oh, we forgot about that. You seem to forget about a lot of things. So this is partly how this was supposed to work. It was supposed to be, I'm crazy. I'm dying for attention. You see how I look in these videos? They did that to me. I've shown you pictures of me. I never looked that way. They said when I was in college, when my face was younger and fatter, because I was heavier, you can see in pictures, my face looked like that. It didn't. These are liars. These are sneaky thieves, criminals who are trying to punish me by stealing from me. This has been going on for too many years for it to be allowed to continue to go on without me saying something. So let's see now how many crimes will be committed against me. Well, we're gonna watch them. They love to watch other people. You like to be voyeurs. I'm gonna start videotaping them again, so you can start to match faces and see how many of them have criminal records. How many of them are known to be abusive. Okay, I'm sit here and let you listen to the technology and give us a break. Okay, they just said they're not going. This is a quote. They're not going along with the video series. They're going along with openly mocking me. They said then they taught me nothing. They said we told you not to keep repeating we. They said then hold the phone, Shamiga. They said this too shall pass. Nobody wants this C word playing the victim.
So, okay, they're trying to calculate how many hours I would need in order to get 44,000 hours of watch time. This isn't how I want my channel to be run. I don't want it to be run where I'm just trying to keep fighting. They said that they have some sort of thing where I would never get enough hours that they would block me. I don't want my channel to be run like that. This is how they are. They always come up with they said a gimmick, but it's more than just a gimmick. It's a scam. It's a scheme. Everything's a scheme. They wanted me to sit and watch like just gang stalking videos so I could like build a group where we kind of fool YouTube. I don't want my life to be a scheme, a scam. And that's how their lives are. This is why we're so old. I'm 52. They're older than I am. We're too old to be dealing with this. It doesn't make sense. It's just one scheme and scam with them after another, and I don't want them in my life. I'm too old. It's like that's part of why the thought process to them has never entered their minds that the young me that would have even looked in their direction wouldn't even look in their direction today ever. That's what they can't think of. They can't process that because it would mean that they didn't grow. And if I had known what I know now, they said, oh, is that a regret? It's not a regret because I needed to go through this experience in order to know what I know now. But if I had known what I know now, I wouldn't look in their direction back then. It's not a regret. But that's part of what I'm saying. I call them the schemy scammies. It's always a scheme, a scam. It's always a trick, and they end up old like this, coming up with another scheme and scam. It's exhausting, but I think that's enough to listening to them on this, but I'll keep coming on. This is the only way to get this shut down. These voices used to drive people crazy. And I watch videos and people are talking about it. And once you start to hear them and other people hear them, I laugh. So they said, why are you laughing? They hate to be laughed at. Once I called them the laughing stock, they got so offended. But if everyone could listen to the voices that used to drive people crazy, we would start to laugh at them. Thank you for listening.